Welcome to another QuickBooks Power Hour. Today we're talking about tips and tricks for importing the chart of accounts and journal entries into QuickBooks Online. Now, one thing I want to point out, although we say the chart of accounts, this will apply to any list that you're importing. So it might be the chart of accounts, customers, vendors, or your products and services. So thank you for joining me today. I appreciate it. So first of all, we're going to go over a little bit about QB Power Hour and the host, the CPE process, our sponsors, and then our topics and learning objectives today are to learn more about importing the chart of accounts into QBO, including some problems and how to avoid them. And I'm actually going to go in and demo this and stuff. We briefly mentioned it on a Power Hour earlier this year. I believe it was in January. And there were a lot of questions about this, and so I wanted to take the time today to go through it in depth and demonstrate it to you. Then also help you understand how easy it is to import the journal entries into QuickBooks Online. And I've got a link to a video where we went over that and demonstrated it for you. And we do have time for Q&A. So I have Brianna from Intuit, who is one of our wonderful customer care agents in Tucson, who I'm sure they're all working like crazy right now, just like you are. She's going to be helping with the questions and answers, and she'll try to flag some if she thinks I should talk about them out loud. But go ahead and type your questions in there, and I will try to answer some as we're going through our poll questions and things like that. So a little bit about QB Power Hour. It is a webinar series. We usually have it twice a month, every other Thursday. Now, today is April 5th. Our next one will be April 19th. You can see it says to be determined. I haven't nailed the topic down yet, but we will get that updated out there pretty soon. Then on May 3rd, we've got a topic on advanced invoicing, payments, collections, and AR for QB Desktop and online. Managing open invoices with Invoice Sherpa is coming towards the end of May on May 17th, and that's amazing as well. So we'd love to have you join us for these. Normally on the QB Power Hours, we talk about tips, tricks, and advanced insights covering desktop, online, or a mixture of the two. And sometimes we do have special guests with great third-party apps or practice management or other industry-related information. And somebody is asking if I can provide the handout. If you go to the GoToWebinar toolbar, under handouts, you will see the PDF where you can download that handout. So you will see that there, okay? So there you've got that. My name is Michelle Long. I'm the owner of Long for Success, located in Kansas City, Missouri, where it is actually sunny today. Yay! Can you believe we had snow on Sunday, on Easter Sunday, April 1st? We had snow, and it wasn't a fool's joke. It was real snow and sleet. I couldn't believe it. Anyway, I am a speaker and trainer for Intuit, which I absolutely love, and I can't wait to get back on the road. I will be traveling starting in June, but the tour is starting in May, so go look for a city near you. We've got some great training coming to a number of different cities. Would love to see you there. I'm co-host, obviously, of the QB Power Hour and Accounting Decon. Love having you guys join me for those things. Hector Garcia is my partner in crime, who is knee-deep in taxes right now. He is crazy busy. He has done more webinars this tax season than we anticipated, and I know we all appreciate that for him because he is so wonderful. And thank you, Brent. He says, glad to see you back, Michelle. Hope you're feeling better. Yes, so thank you, Brent. I am feeling better. For those of you that have been asking and wondering, I have been AWOL, like on all social media, almost the whole busy season this year. I actually had back surgery 5 weeks ago, and it is finally doing better. It was great the first couple of weeks. I had a spinal cord stimulator implant. If you're a techie like me, it is so cool. They actually program me. They can go on their computer and they can program this thing to give me pain relief. It's awesome. I have to tell you all about it. But anyway, I am now a bionic woman. So, hey, look out. I have powers that you don't know about. Anyway, just kidding. And yes, I will be in Scaling New Heights. And I've got a thing about that in just a minute there. So the CPE and the ACE process. If you're a CPA or a certified bookkeeper and you need CPE credits, you must attend this webinar live, not watching it on YouTube after the fact. You have to be logged in for at least 50 minutes. There will be 4 polling questions. You have to answer at least 3 to get CPE credit. Those CPE certificates will, normally it's about 3 weeks, but please, Hector does this, and he is, like you all know, he is really busy with busy season. Give him a few extra weeks, but those will be coming. This episode is not an ACE approved webinar. For those of you that are advanced certified, this one is not an ACE webinar. Okay, so thank you for understanding on the CPE and giving Hector another week or so for it during busy season. Upcoming events, we have our 6th annual, Sandy Smith-Leva and I are doing the Ultimate Accounting VCon again. You can attend this conference from your home. We do a series of webinars just like this Power Hour webinar, so love to have you join us for that. You can check that out. Scaling New Heights is in Atlanta again this year. It's going to be another awesome conference. Yes, I will be there, and I'm pretty sure Hector's going to be there as well, along with QuickBooks Connect. We hope to see you at those conferences. They are great. If you can attend those, it'd be great. So love to see you there. Now, one more announcement before we get into the details. You know, we did the Intuit Average Billing Rate Survey just a little while ago. Heather has been working like crazy. Heather Satterley has been doing a lot of crunching and going through the survey results, and she and I have been talking about them and insights into them as she started writing some articles, so you'll want to be watching for those. But we're also doing an apps survey. We're going to do a survey on apps only. So you will be getting an email in the next day or so from QBPOWERHOUR with a link to that survey. Now, we're not publishing this survey on social media. We are targeting our QBPOWERHOUR listeners, and we want your feedback and input. It would really help us. The survey will take you about 10 minutes. I know you're busy with tax season, which, by the way, let me go ahead and launch our first poll question, because it is around tax season, and I can launch that while I continue to talk about this survey. All right, so there's the poll question. Please answer that for me. And on this survey, it's only going to take you about 10 minutes. Now, I know you're crazy busy, a lot of you, with tax season. Please, while you're taking a break, you're having a cup of coffee or, you know, afternoon caffeine or whatever the situation is, please take 10 minutes and go through this survey with us to give us some really good results that we can share with everybody. And Intuit is working with us on both surveys, the billing rate survey and the app survey, so that we can have some really cool infographics and really cool information on the results of these surveys. We need you to please respond as soon as you can so you don't forget about it. So again, in the next day or two, you're going to be getting an email from us asking you to participate in the app survey. It can be anonymous, or if you want to put your contact information in there and allow permission to contact you if Intuit has any follow-up questions, or to get additional surveys in the future, that way you would be on our list for surveys. Or you might want to be quoted in some of the marketing materials that Intuit plans to use some of the survey results. You might want to, you know, have a quote of yours about how you love a particular app or something like that. So if you don't want to do any of that, fine. It can be completely anonymous, and you don't have to do that. So you don't have to opt in to give your info if you don't want to. But we would really love you to do that. So, all right, I'm going to give you about 5 to 10 more seconds to finish this poll question. Remember, you have to answer 3 out of the 4 poll questions to get CPE credit. And yes, the rate survey is closed, Amy. We have closed that, and we're crunching the information now. And somebody has a suggestion to the audience, Nasir, and I think this is a great idea. If you don't need CPE, if you're not a certified public accountant or a certified bookkeeper where you're required to have a certain number of CPE credits every year, don't request CPE. You know, that just makes more work for Hector if you don't even need it. But you should be getting those in your email, so make sure you look for that. Okay, so thank you guys for that, and I'm going to go ahead and close our poll question now and just share this with you guys so you can see. Right now, 17% of you are crazy busy, but I love it. 28% busy and ready for it to end, and then 23 not too bad, and 31% don't do taxes. All right, so that's super. Over 50% of you should be able to do that survey then, right? Yes, okay. We'd love to have you do that. Now, let's get into work and get down to business here, because I've got a lot of demoing to do for you. We're going to talk about importing the chart of accounts to QuickBooks Online. And remember, what I'm going to talk about is specifically the chart of accounts. The principles, the concepts, the to-dos are the same, whether it's the chart of accounts or your customers, your vendors, products and services. Okay, now products and services, there are a few differences and a little tools to help with that, but specifically our lists, when we're talking about importing lists. We'll be talking about that stuff specifically. So first of all, let's talk about 3 options that you have when you're converting to QuickBooks Online. If they were using QuickBooks Desktop, all right, so if you have a client or somebody's been using QuickBooks Desktop, there is a conversion tool that makes it super easy to convert from desktop to QuickBooks Online. It doesn't take very long. It happens automatically, and it brings everything over. It brings over all of your lists, all of your transactions, all of your detail. There are a few things that do not convert. Those are included in your advanced training materials. Okay, so if you're a pro advisor, which if you're not, I highly encourage you to join. It is free to join the Pro Advisor program. And then you have access to the certification training materials. There's the regular certification and the advanced certification. Even if you're not ready to start working on the advanced certification and taking the test, you can access those training materials. And Module 1 goes in depth on converting from desktop to online and all kinds of details on what does and does not convert. And we're going to talk about that a little bit here in just a second as well. Now, you might have another situation where you have a client who's using another accounting system, and so you may want to export the chart of accounts, or again, the customers or vendors, you may want to export the list from another system, clean it up, and then import it into QuickBooks Online. Or there's a third option as well. Maybe your client was using QuickBooks Desktop, but they've been using it for like 15, 20 years, and it's a mess. A lot of old customers, old vendors, old accounts, old stuff, a lot of garbage that you really don't want to convert to QuickBooks Online. Maybe they have things all messed up. It was set up wrong to begin with. You want to start fresh. So in that situation, you can start a fresh QuickBooks Online company, but you don't have to start from scratch. You may want to export the chart of accounts, and again, it could be your customers or vendors and stuff as well. Export the list from QuickBooks Desktop to an IIF file, and this is where I'm going to go through and demo this in a little bit. Export that chart of accounts from desktop to an IIF file. You can then open that in Excel, import and clean it up, and then import that into a new QuickBooks Desktop file. Okay, so you can do all that. And again, here's the note on the training. The additional details are in in your advanced certification for QuickBooks Online. So first of all, let's talk about if you are doing a conversion from desktop to online. All of the details of that list is going to convert. Your name, the account type. Now, one thing to remember here is with QuickBooks Online, we have a detail type. With QuickBooks Desktop, you just have a type. For example, expense. But in QuickBooks Online, you have a detail type, like maybe it's general expense, marketing, or advertising, or travel, and then you got utilities or something. You have a detail type of account as well, and that's real important to keep in mind as we're going through this and talking about this. It will convert your description. It'll convert the account number if you have that, the account hierarchy. And this is important because we're talking about the sub-accounts that you might have. For example, under utilities, you might have gas, electric, water, sub-accounts. Those will convert. So if you've got a chart of accounts with a lot of sub-accounts, those will convert for you. Now, what does not convert are some non-posting account, like purchase order or purchase orders or your sales orders or your estimates. Those accounts don't convert. Like if you're going to use a purchase order in QBO, it'll create a new non-posting account for you. The bank account number and online banking information, if you've set up that bank feed, you're going to need to set that up again in QuickBooks Online after you do the conversion. But converting from desktop to online is awesome, especially because of this account hierarchy. And we'll talk about that in just a little bit here. So we'll go over that. And RC wants to know, IIF converts to Excel. We're not actually converting that IIF to Excel, but we're going to open it in Excel. And again, you will see this in just a few minutes. I'm going to go through and demo it. So once you've done that conversion, that's one step. The second step is I don't want to convert my whole desktop file to QuickBooks Online because there's garbage in it and there's a lot of things that need to be cleaned up and fixed, or whatever the reason is. You want to start fresh in QBO, but you'd like to import some of these lists so you're not starting from scratch. So you can see here, you can import into QBO your customers, vendors, the accounts, and the products and services. So you can import all of these things. Now you'll notice here the customers, vendors, and the accounts will add new records to the table. So it's going to add new records into that table. But on your products and services list, if there's a name that matches, it's going to update that instead of adding new ones to it. One thing that's real important is the account type and detail type is required. And this is where it hangs people up sometimes, because let's say you have a chart of accounts from another system, or let's say you exported the chart of accounts from QB Desktop. It doesn't have a detail type there. So when you go to import that into QuickBooks Online, you're going to have to go through and manually assign every detail account. Every account has to have a detail type. So that's manual. If you've got, a couple hundred accounts, that's going to take some time. So I've got a trick in number 3 that's going to help you avoid that problem of needing the account detail type. The other thing that you can run into problems with is sub-accounts. Let's say, like I mentioned, you had utilities, gas, electric, water. So you have sub-accounts. When you export your list, that's going to be utilities, gas, utilities, water. So each one of the sub-accounts is in there with a colon. That won't import. When you've got a colon in the account name, it will not import. Now, one thing you can do, if you just have a few sub-accounts, you can actually edit, take the colon out, import it as a full account, a main account, then go into QuickBooks Online and edit to make it a sub-account after you've imported this. Or if you've got a lot of sub-accounts, this workaround that I'm going to show you will help avoid all that. It's going to save you a lot of time. So on these two right here, if that's creating problems for you on getting that detail type in there, as well as lots of sub-accounts, then what you're going to want to do is option number 3, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. So again, here's what I just mentioned. If you only have a few accounts, you can import them and then edit them to make them a sub-account in QuickBooks Online. But if you're using desktop and you have a lot of sub-accounts, or you got to worry about that detail type, you want to work on this next method. Yay, Leslie says, I'm so excited about the workaround. You're right, Leslie. It is exciting, and that's why we're going to go through this step by step, and I'm going to walk you through it, actually do a demo of it. And now we have another quick question here. What is the purpose of the account detail type? I've never used it. It seems to be a nuisance, especially when merging or creating sub-accounts. You're right. It is a nuisance. Let me see audience view, make sure. Yeah. Okay. Let me just pop into QBO real quick and show you this. What was I going to show you? Oh, sorry. It's that CRS disease. Chart of accounts. Those of you that don't know, CRS disease is can't remember stuff. I can't remember stuff. So what we were talking about is the detail type. What's it for? Why do we have that? So for example, here you see car and truck. Under expenses, we have the type is expense. The detail type is auto. Let's go in and take a look at this account, and you'll see each account you have a regular type, which we're used to from desktop. Have this detail type here. Okay, we have a detail type of account in QuickBooks Online. Notice the little red asterisk here? That means that's required. All right, so if you're importing accounts, you must have a detail type assigned to it. Now, somebody says, what is the purpose of that? There is no purpose, none whatsoever. I think what happened, I'm not positive because I'm not an Intuit programming engineer guy, but I think what happened is way back when, several years ago, they intended to have, like, let's say a scorecard where you could compare your business to other businesses in your industry, let's say, to see what percentage is your auto expenses. All right, so they were trying to break this down into specific detailed types of accounts so that they could do some comparisons to other small businesses. Well, that didn't work right. They kind of got rid of that, but they still have the detail type here. It's not used for anything except to be a nuisance when you're doing things like importing your chart of accounts, or like somebody else said, merging the chart of accounts, because the detail types must be the exact same if you're going to merge them. But other than that, the detail type does nothing. It doesn't affect your reports. It doesn't affect anything. It's just there. So it doesn't really matter what you put there. But it does matter when you're importing the chart of accounts, you must have a detail type assigned, which again can be time consuming. You've got to go through 200 accounts and manually assign a detail type. So that's why you're going to love my workaround. It's also a nuisance when you're merging two accounts because the detail type must agree. So hopefully that clarifies and answers some of those questions for you. Now, what we want to do, if you've got a situation where you got a client who's using QuickBooks Desktop, it's a mess, you don't want to convert them, but you need to clean up your list, okay? So these are for businesses who have existing QuickBooks Desktop list data, our accounts, our customers, our vendors, not converting transactions. We don't want to bring all that history over, which, by the way, you will, after you convert from desktop to online, you still have your desktop file. So you don't have to convert it all to have the history. You can open up that desktop file, look at it whenever you want to, because it's making a copy of your desktop file and then converting it into QuickBooks Online for you. Your desktop file is still there, still intact, all the details. So I usually tell people, at a minimum, condense the desktop data and only convert the last year or so of the data. Or if the data is not that great and the setup's not great and you want to start over, particularly when clients have used QuickBooks Online for a long time, you don't want or need all of that old data out there, old customers, old vendors, old accounts, things that they haven't used in years. Because one very, very important thing to remember, with QuickBooks Online, if you ever have anything on the list, you can't delete it. So an account, a customer, a vendor, let me just pop back in here to QuickBooks real quick and show you. Whoops, that's desktop, that's online. You can't, it doesn't ever go away. So like, let's say this bank charges and fees. Let's say I want to go over here and delete this account. It doesn't actually delete it. It's going to show up there by, what was it, bank? Oh, I have to click to show inactive, include inactive. Notice how it doesn't say include deleted accounts. It says include inactive. But then when I look here, it says bank charges and fees deleted. You're not really deleting it. You're making it inactive, and it will never go away. Whether it's an account, a customer, or a vendor, once you have something on your list in QuickBooks Online, they don't go away. You can make that active again at any time. See over here on the right where it says make active? So we don't want to import a bunch of old inactive names from desktop into QuickBooks Online, right? We don't want to get all that garbage into QBO because we can never get rid of it. So the other thing to keep in mind is on the customers and vendors, when you're importing those, when you export from desktop, let's say you export your customer list, you've got to go through and make the address field 3 separate fields for the street address, the city, and the state. So if you export the customers or vendors from desktop into Excel, you need to go in and manipulate your customer and vendor address fields. If you do this workaround that I'm going to talk to you about, you don't have to do that. Also, if you do what I'm showing you here by converting it from, you'll see, what we're going to do, export the list, clean it up, then import it into a new desktop file, then convert that desktop file. That eliminates the need to assign a detail type. Because remember, when you convert from desktop to QuickBooks Online, you don't have to assign all 200 accounts a detail type. It will automatically assign those detail types for you. So if we're converting our chart of accounts from desktop to online, we don't have to worry about assigning that detail type. That can save you a lot of time, and it will keep your sub-account hierarchy. Remember when we talked about what does and does not convert? When you convert from desktop, the conversion tool will convert and keep your sub-accounts. We can't import sub-accounts, remember? It won't import them because of the colon. You'd have to manually go through and do it. So if you do the workaround that I'm talking about right here, and I'm gonna go in and show you this in just a minute, it's gonna eliminate some of these problems for you. Now, let me go ahead and do another poll question for you. Let's go ahead and launch this poll question. Somebody says, can you create detail type after the fact that's not already in QBO? No, if you're trying to import a chart of accounts into QuickBooks Online, it will not import unless you assign a chart of accounts. So you would have to go through your Excel file, assign all those detail types. I'm sorry, you got to assign a detail type or it will not import that for you. Somebody says, I'm not able to see the demo. I'm getting ready to start that in just a minute. Kate says, why do they use the term delete when they mean inactive? Totally inconsistent. I agree, Kate. And I'll tell you this, I work with QuickBooks all the time. You guys know I absolutely love it. I'm a QuickBooks nerd through and through. I'm a QuickBooksaholic. But we don't answer why questions. I don't know why they do some of the things they do. I'm not a programmer or an engineer, so I can't answer the why questions. You'd have to ask into it. But in QuickBooks Online, inactive and deleted are synonyms when you're talking about working with your lists. They mean the same thing. It's never really gone. It's just inactive. So when you go to delete something, you're actually making it inactive on your lists. Now, if you go delete a check or you go delete a transaction, that's gone. Now, wouldn't it be nice if we could make that active again and bring it back, right? An undo button, but we can't. So your lists are different from the transactions. With your list, chart of accounts, customers, vendors, products, and services, you delete and inactive mean the same thing. Just like sometimes talking about lists, sometimes you'll see the products and services list, sometimes you'll see it called the items list in QuickBooks Online. So yes, that's a little bit confusing, but hopefully that will help. And that's a good point. RC says he hides the detail, or he or she, I'm sorry, I don't know if RC is a male or female or what, but they say, I now hide the detail type in all views. No reason to have it showing up and taking space on the screen and confusing clients. That's a good point. You can go in and change what they're seeing there. Okay, let me go ahead and go through. Do you mean Intuit support? I'm not sure. Oh, on inactive and delete. No, Intuit support won't have an answer either for that. That's a why question. I'm not sure why they do that, so I'm not sure. What detail type is automatically added? Molly, that depends on the account. Like if it's a fixed asset, the detail type is going to be assigned based on that versus if it's an expense, it's going to be one of those detail types as well. Okay, 5 more seconds. Only 87% of you have answered this poll question. So please answer this poll question if you need CPE. Okay, I'm going to close it in 3, 2, 1. Last call for CPE. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close that, and I'll share it with you just because I know you guys like to see. 20% prefer QBO only. Some prefer desktop and online. Some others prefer QB desktop. 31% prefer desktop over online, 25% prefer QBO over desktop, and then 16% are indifferent. That's a pretty even split, actually. I will tell you my answer right now. I totally prefer QuickBooks Online. Once you learn, especially once you learn all the keyboard shortcuts and navigating tips and tricks with QBO, to me, it's just so much faster and more efficient than working with desktop files. I actually find it painful now when I'm working in QuickBooks Desktop, just because I'm so used to QBO now. But that took some experience in working with it. Okay, so let's get back into our demo here so we don't get into more details. Somebody says, so what's the best way to learn all those shortcuts? Let me just type this in real quick, http:// it's a tiny, I can't remember the URL. Oh yeah, I do. bit.ly.com/QBO tips. All right, I believe that is the link to a video that I did with these navigating tips and tricks. Somebody else says, problem is QBO doesn't do everything that desktop can. And that's true. And it's not the exact same as desktop, particularly if you need robust inventory with multiple units of measure, multiple locations, things like that. You're going to need a third-party app. If you need robust job costing where you're allocating the labor to the jobs, we're fingers crossed that's coming in QBO soon. But right now, desktop is better for robust job costing than it is in QBO. Again, there's an app for that. And the other thing to keep in mind, most of our clients do not use everything in QuickBooks Desktop anyway, right? Most of the clients don't use all the features of desktop. So who cares if your client doesn't need robust inventory? That doesn't matter. If they're not using the robust job costing, that doesn't matter. But for those clients who need those specific things, there's an app for that. And a lot of times you'll discover that things are way more efficient for your clients when they're with QuickBooks Online, and some of them are using 2 or 3 apps. Maybe they're using an inventory app along with a payroll or timekeeping app and a CRM app or something. We call that app stacking, and Heather and I did a webinar on that earlier this year as well. You can find that in the Power Hour archives. All right. All right. Somebody says, unfortunately, inventory apps are very pricey. You know, they are, but a lot of times with inventory apps, it's going to allow you to actually reduce the head count. It takes fewer people to manage and use the inventory because it's a lot more efficient. But yeah, if somebody has a lot of inventory, that's going to be more expensive. So just something to keep in mind. All right, let's get back to our demo and talking about this workaround that's going to save you guys a lot of time. Okay. All right. So first of all, this is what we're going to be doing. Now, remember, this workaround is option number 3 when the client's been using desktop, but you don't want to convert the whole file for whatever reason. We want to export our list. So what you do is you export your chart of accounts from desktop, open that IIF file in Excel, clean up those accounts, create a new desktop file, and then import that into the new, import the chart of accounts that you cleaned up into the new desktop file, and then convert that to QBO. So let's walk through this. All right, so here I am in QuickBooks Desktop. Let me see which one I'm in. All right, I am in Rock Castle Construction. Okay, so notice I am in Rock Castle Construction. Let's say this company has been using this for many, many years. It probably has. Let's just hit the F2 key. If you hit the F2 key, no, this is a newer file. Usually right here under versions used on this file, you can see a whole lot of years. You might see the client using it going back to like 2005 or even 2000. That means the client has been using that desktop file for a number of years, and it probably has some problems or issues. Brianna, did you need to add something, or was that Hector I heard?
Nope, sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. I just wondered maybe you needed to add something. Okay, so what we want to do in here, we don't want to convert this whole file. We want to clean up our chart of accounts and stuff. So I can go under the chart of accounts or your products and services list. So here's all my details. I want to then export this actually. Okay, so we're going to take this chart of accounts. Notice we have a type, but we don't have a detail type. If I convert from desktop to online by going under company, export this company file to QBO, it will assign a detail type of account for me. Okay. But I don't want to just convert because there's a lot of garbage and I want to clean these lists up and things like that. What I want to do is I want to go to File, go to Utilities. I want to export. I want to export my lists to IIF files. Now, I don't want to do all of them in this demo. You might want to do more. I just want to, whoops, what happened? Where'd it go? Is it hiding? It's popped up somewhere and I am not seeing it. And I'm not sure why. Let's close that and let's try again. File, Utilities, Export, my list to my IIF. Why am I not seeing the pop-up window? Oh, you know what? I wonder if it's on my other monitor. Oops, sorry. That's bizarre. Brianna, do you know where it's hiding? I don't know why I'm not seeing it. Oh, well, I can talk to you about it. I don't know why it's not coming up. File, Export, my list to an IIF file. Usually there's a pop-up that comes right here, and I am not seeing it. Let's try one more time. File, Utilities, Export, List to IIF. All right, I don't know what it's doing. I don't know why it's doing that. Somebody said check Excel. No, first it comes up. What it does is it pops up. Let me just try a different company real quick. Yeah, see, it's open, and if I hit escape, it goes away. Open previous company. Let's just go into that one real quick. Got a couple tests. Somebody said check the window. Yeah, I was. Oh, gosh, I forgot I set up a password. All right, so let's try it in this company. If this one doesn't work, then it's okay. I'll just talk you through it. File. All right, go away. Close that. Let's close everything. There we go. Close our chart of accounts. File, Utilities, Export, the list to the IIF file. There it is. I don't know why that wasn't popping up, but it's okay. All right, so here you can see you can do a whole bunch of lists. I usually do them separately, but you could do multiples. So I'm just going to do the chart of accounts, and I'm going to say, okay, it says where do I want it to go to? I'm going to say COA2, COA2.IIF. All right, so it's going to give it a name. I'm just saving it on my desktop. Then what I do, I go into Excel, and I'm going to click on File, Open. Now, I need to make sure that I'm looking at all folders, okay, not just Excel files. I want to look at all of my folders out there. So I need to go Browse, and over here, see where it says All Excel Files? I want to change that to All Files. And out here, you'll see the Chart of Accounts 2 that I just did. See how it says that is a QuickBooks Import Export file? That is an IIF file. That's an Intuit Interchange format. What does that mean? I'm not sure. It's something techie. But what you'll want to do is in Excel, you go to File, Open, All Types of Files so you can see it. Then I just click through all of this and ignore it all. Click Finish. Then you will have it in Excel. Once you have it in Excel, you want to go through and get rid of like your account headings, and you want to go through and clean up a few things, which I've already done. So let me just open the one that I already cleaned up. Here we go. Oh, wait, no, that's an Excel file. I wanted to open the IIF. There we go. All right, this one is already cleaned up. So see, I've already deleted. Up at the top, there was a couple of header rows that I wanted to delete, and down at the bottom, there was also some rows down here for the online banking information, so I deleted 3 or 4 rows down there. Then, what you might want to do, definitely want to do, see this column here where it says Hidden? All right, oops, I already went through and deleted them. There were a few accounts in here that were hidden, so there was a Y instead of an N, yes or no. Hidden accounts are deleted or inactive accounts in QuickBooks Desktop. So if you've made something inactive in Desktop on your customers, vendors, or your accounts, it's going to be in this column. And so what you'll want to do, particularly like if you're doing a customer list or a vendor list, you got all of these old things that had activity in them, you can't delete something in Desktop if you ever used it. Right? So if your account or customer or vendor had activity in it, you can't delete that account because it's part of your history or that customer or vendor. So what you'll want to do, though, is once you get this list over here and open it in Excel, sort by yes. So you'll want to sort for all of those that are inactive, and then you come over here and you can select all the ones that are yes, that they're inactive or hidden, and then you can delete them. All right? So you get rid of and clean these lists up. You're able to clean up those old inactive names and accounts and things like that so that you can get rid of them, okay? So this is where it's going to save you a lot of time by cleaning this stuff up in Excel. After you've cleaned this stuff up, all you want to do is click Save, okay? Because if you try to do File Save As, it doesn't give you the option to save it as an IIF file, all right? So just click Save after you've cleaned it up, right back over the same name that you did. So export the list from Desktop into Excel, into an IIF file, open it in Excel, clean it up, get rid of those hidden ones that are inactive. Again, if it says yes, that's inactive. Then you want to come back into QuickBooks Desktop, create a brand new company. All right, we want to create a brand new company, which I've already done, so I'm actually going to skip through that. Create a brand new company from scratch with nothing in it. Oh my goodness, I'm getting that again. I've got something hidden and I'm not sure where it is. Let's do Windows. No, see nothing. It won't click anything. Oh, dang it. It's opening under one of my multiple windows. Oh, here it is. See if I can drag and drop it over to my other monitor. There we go. I've already gone through and set up a new one, so I don't actually want to do this. Come over here and let's get rid of that. So I'm just going to go into, I just started this one earlier, chart of accounts test. So I created a brand new QuickBooks company file, right? Then I go in here and, oh gosh, darn it. Okay, hold on. I can't even type anymore. Maybe it's time for a poll question. All right, so I'm in QuickBooks Desktop in a brand new file, right? So what I want to do here is I just want to come under File, Utilities. Now I want to import. I could import the Excel file, but I'm going to import the IIF file. And under my IIF file, that's where I have this chart of accounts that I cleaned up. Remember, we cleaned up, we deleted all those inactive ones, the ones that said yes, they were inactive. I'm going to import that now into QuickBooks Online. Oh, it's still open in Desktop or Excel. Let me close both of those. There we go. Let's try again. File, Utilities, Import, IIF, into Excel, or into, I'm sorry, my new desktop file. Now, the reason I'm doing this, okay, the reason I'm doing this, let's go under Company, Chart of Accounts. The reason I'm doing this is because if I have sub-accounts, see all these sub-accounts under payroll liabilities? I have all these sub-accounts down here under construction income, reimbursement income, our job expenses. I've got a lot of sub-accounts, right? If we convert from desktop to online, it will convert the account hierarchy and the sub-accounts for me. Okay, if I try to import from Excel into QBO, it won't import sub-accounts because of that colon. It won't do that. You'll get error messages. So when I have a lot of sub-accounts and the detail type, because now when I go to company, export this company file to QBO, it's going to assign the detail type for me and it's going to keep my account hierarchy. That's why you export your list, clean it up, then import it into a brand new desktop file so we can use that conversion tool to save ourselves all of that time. Does that make sense? It saves a tremendous amount of time. So you're creating a new desktop file with your list that you've imported, and then you can export that and use the conversion tool to convert it from QuickBooks Desktop to QuickBooks Online. Now, if you are in QuickBooks Online, you can import your lists over here. See where it says import data? You can import customers, vendors, accounts. If I'm importing my chart of accounts, let's download this sample file real quick, open this up, and I'll show you. If you've got a chart of accounts in Excel, the problem is you must have a detail type, which means you've got to go through and assign that on all 200 accounts or whatever. And also, you won't be able to import those sub-accounts. You would import them as a main account, then you'd have to go into QBO and make them a sub-account. So by using the desktop, creating a new desktop file with your list there and then converting that, that saves you a lot of time. Okay, so it's a workaround that's going to save you a lot of time. Now, let me go ahead and launch the next poll question and go through some questions here too. This is great and so timely. I have a company with a huge chart of accounts and some messes we're going to convert to QBO soon. Thank you. Awesome. Somebody talked about C data, and we're going to be talking about that in just a minute, Kathy. So that's a good point. And somebody says the only catch is that your old transactions won't show up in QBO. So you won't be able to go back and look at last year's transactions, QBO and QBO. So you're right. What we're doing here, we're just converting our lists. We're going to enter our opening balances and start fresh in QuickBooks Online. Sometimes your client's data is a mess and there's a lot of mistakes, a lot of things wrong, and sometimes you don't want to convert the detail. Okay, you don't want those transactions out there. Now, if you do want last year's transactions out there, there are tools, and we're going to talk about those tools in just a second. There's tools where you could import the last year's worth of transactions for you. So you could do that if you wanted to. All right, so this is a situation where you decide you do not want to convert the desktop file. We all know how we've seen some of these desktop files, especially because clients have been using desktop for 15, 20 years now. And things are set up wrong. There's lots and lots of old garbage out there. Why import stuff into QBO that you don't need? And again, this is your professional decision. Sometimes you might want to go ahead and convert the desktop file to QBO in full. Sometimes, though, you want to start fresh, which, by the way, starting fresh and putting in beginning balances and open transactions, those detailed steps on how to do that are included in the advanced certification training. Okay, so you can go into your course locker and you can see the advanced certification training in there. You can access module 1. Or if you're in one of the cities that we're going to be in soon, I think I'm doing advanced training in Miami and a couple of other cities, but I can't remember. I can't remember. That's in June. I've been trying to get my back all healed up so I can hit the road again, because after my surgery for 6 weeks, I can't bend, lift, twist, pull. I can't lift more than a half gallon of milk, like no more than 5 pounds. Makes it really hard to travel if you can't pick up your suitcase, right? So anyway, that's a whole other story. Sorry. All right. Somebody says when moving from one release of desktop to another is a way to import only 1 year of their data. Sandy, what you'll want to do is go under File, Utilities, Condense Data, and you can condense all of the older years, just keeping the last year intact. You also can create a period copy. That's under File, Utilities, Condense Data in Desktop. Okay, so you can do that if you want to. But when you do a conversion from Desktop to QuickBooks Online, it's going to convert the whole file. Okay, all or nothing there. All right, go ahead and answer that poll question. Oh, Mark, I'm sorry. Mark says there's no condense in the Canadian QuickBooks. Thank you for sharing that, Mark. So no condense in the Canadian QuickBooks. So what you'd want to do there is use one of these third-party tools that we're going to talk about in just a minute, where you can extract the data and import it into a new file, the detailed transactions. We're going to cover that in just a moment. All right. I have a client who imported his own products but messed up the product type. Can I re-import using the correct product type, or do I need to create new products? Scott, when we're importing into QuickBooks Online, I don't know if you remember, but one of those slides said, if the products and services, if the names are the same, when you import it again, it will update the product or service. It won't create a new one. So what you can do is make sure you fix it, clean it up, and make sure those names are the same, and then you can import again, and it will update those products. Okay, so hope that answers your question. Brianna's doing an awesome job. Thank you for flagging these for me and everything. I really appreciate it. That's a good point, Keith. I should ask that if you want to create a period copy in Desktop, you have to have the Accountant Edition. To do that. That's a good add there. Thank you, Keith, for reminding of that. Okay, Rich said, hi, Rich, how are you? Rich said, please talk about the limitations of using the desktop condense options. All right, let me just go into condense here in just a second. I'll actually go into desktop and show you that. Okay, so poll in progress. You got like 5 seconds. If you need CPE credit, answer this for me, please. I'll give you a few seconds. I'll just share the results verbally. 39% of you not converted any, and I'm not sure whether you haven't had a client that needed it done, or maybe somebody else does that, but that surprises me. 40% have done less than 5, 13% 6 to 20, and 3% are over 21. Awesome. Thank you guys for sharing. I'm going to close that poll. All right, so let's close that poll question. And we do have one more poll question that we'll get to in a little bit. I was going to pop back into Desktop and show you under File, Utilities, Condense Data. See where it says File, Utilities, Condense Data? When you come in here to condense, you have the option to remove transactions before a specific date. So in other words, if I wanted to keep 2017 and 2018, I could say remove transactions before January 1st, 2017. All right, and then you can also see a report of which transactions cannot be removed. If there's an open invoice prior to the date that then is paid after the date, it'll keep that. If it's linked to something after the date, it will keep some of those. Do you want to remove all transactions? This will strip out all of your detail activity, just leave you with your lists and your preferences and things like that. Or do you want to do a period copy? This is for a specific period of time. And what that's doing is, like, if you're having an audit, you can create a period copy for the auditor so they can only see the year under audit. You have to have QuickBooks Accountant Desktop to create this period copy, so you won't see that otherwise. Now, as you go through this, it's going to ask, what do you want to do? Because if we remove all these old transactions, it's going to mess up your beginning balances. So either you can have it do one big summary journal entry of all the old transactions that it's going to get rid of all the details, one big journal entry, or a monthly journal entry. And this will summarize all that history so your beginning balances are going to stay the same. Now, I will tell you this. When you go through this condensed feature, it can take hours and hours and hours. You know, might do it on a Friday night, let it run. A big file could take days. Okay, so, pardon me, don't think it's hung up or it's broke or it's stuck or something. Just let it run. So I'm just going to leave it on one summary journal entry. And then this is where it can clean up all of these following transactions, any things that are uncleared, to be printed, to be sent, things like that. And best of all, once it removes all of that old activity, you can also then say, okay, now delete old customers, vendors, accounts, things like that. You can delete all of those as well, so it can clean up your list for you. So if you want to convert some of the data from desktop, let's say the last year or so, please don't convert 10, 15 years of data to QBO. There's no need. You have that old history in desktop you can open and refer to in the event of an audit or something like that. But what you could do, condense it to just keep like 2017 and 2018 and have it clean up your list for you. So this is an option as well. If you don't want to totally start fresh, this is an option that you could do as well. Now, when you go through and you say next, again, it can take hours and hours and hours or days, so just let it run. Okay, just put it on another computer or put it on a different monitor, let it run in the background, and let it go, because it could be days. Okay, so you got to be patient with that. So hopefully that helps clarify some of that. So again, to summarize, you got three different options. You can convert desktop to online. It converts everything. You can import lists. If you're starting fresh, you can just import your list into QBO and start fresh. Or you can export your list from QuickBooks Desktop, export the list into an IIF file, clean up the old and inactive accounts, create a new desktop file, then do that conversion. Okay, so that's kind of a shortcut and a workaround that's going to help you a lot. Kathy's got a good tip here, and this is a really good tip, Kathy. I forgot to mention it. Thank you for sharing. With really big files, we condense 1 year at a time, and it avoids lots of errors. That is a good point, Kathy. Thank you for sharing that. If you got like 10 years of data, 10 years of data, then you might want to do 1 year at a time. Now, when we were going to talk about importing journal entries. So what I want to talk about first, though, is you've got a number of tools, and we're going to not do the demo of that. I'll tell you why in just a second. We've got a number of tools that are available for us. These are data utility tools to allow us to import data into QuickBooks. I can import lists. I can import transactions. I can import bank account information. All right, so these tools allow you to import. Some allow you to export and extract data from QuickBooks Online. So if you wanted to get just the last year of transactions, let's say you're in Canada and you can't do that condensed feature, you can use these tools to extract a year of transactions out of QuickBooks Desktop and import them into QBO. So you have all of these different tools. I like Z-Access. It's pretty easy to use. I know Heather demonstrated C data and some of these things. I think she might have demonstrated Z-Access too. I'm not sure. Anyway, we went through these tools and a demonstration of them in January. Heather went through and did this detailed demo for you. So here's the link to that webinar. You can just fast forward to get to that part if you want to, where you're going to see the detail on the journal entries. I realized talking about importing those lists was a lot more time than I realized, and unfortunately, I decided I couldn't try to do both and give them justice. So Heather, though, did discuss importing journal entries in this webinar a couple months ago. So here's the link from that. A couple of tips. Remember, you can open an IIF file into Excel and save it. You can edit some things, for example, in Z-Access. Let's say you got a journal entry and it's out of balance or something is wrong. You could add additional lines to it or do some editing like in Z-Access. And with Z-Access in particular, watch for problems with the account names. It is case sensitive, and you need to set up your mapping in Z-Access first before you do that importing. Again, here's the link to that video so you can get the handouts from your GoToWebinar toolbar. You can download the handouts and have that available to you there. All right, so let me launch our last poll question. Did you learn something new? And I appreciate so many of you for joining me during tax season. I really appreciate it, and I really appreciate it if you could please do the app survey for us. After the email today, Hector's going to be sending an email out, with the recording from today as well as information. I think they're going to be combined into one email. He messaged me and I was talking and I couldn't read it. Yeah, Hector says we are doing Miami together. Yes, we are. And yes, somebody's saying, okay, yes, Hector, I was hitting escape and it wasn't working. All right. Okay. Remember, check your email for that app survey link, and please, please, please complete that for us. Do it as soon as you open it if you can. It only takes about 10 minutes. Go get a cup of coffee, go get some tea, soda, energy drink, whatever you're drinking to keep you awake during tax season, and please do that. I would really, really appreciate it. Ann says, we condense by months with a really big file. That's another good tip. Thank you very much. Can you convert QuickBooks Self-Employed? Brianna answered that. There's no conversion right now. Thank you, Brianna. Heidi loves SASANT. Yes, I've heard a lot of people who like that as well. I have a potential client who I would have to import from zero. Any thoughts? Yes, so if you want to convert from another company, you can export those lists from the other company. So go into Zero, export your list. You can clean them up like we talked about, and you can import your list from Excel into QBO. For the transactions, you're going to need one of those third-party tools so that you can export those transactions and import them into QBO. So you'll want to look at those. And there are people who will do this as a service for you. So if you don't want to mess with it, you don't have to. Steve liked the hidden column with the Y, and no, that's something I learned that will help out a lot. Very good. Oh, thanks, Tricia. She says, I always appreciate your real-world, casual, yet efficient approach to QuickBooks training. Thanks. That's great. Oh, my goodness. Erla has to go. She says, good hour. I've got 12 tax returns waiting on me. Have a good day. What is the link for the tour? Karen, I'm not sure if they've updated it yet, but you should be able to find it. QBTrainingEvents.com, I believe. Let me just double-check myself because I don't want to give you a bad link. QBTrainingEvents.com. I'll just check it. Finish that poll question if you have any last-minute questions. In-person training. Yeah, they don't have them out there yet, but they will be coming soon. They're still working on all the locations and the dates. It does look like there's a list of names out there. Those of you that said you want to know which ones I'm doing, I will post a blog post, which I'm way behind on posting blog posts. I'll put a post out there with the cities I'll be going to because, yes, I'd love to see you there. All right, so last call on this CPE question, giving you 3, 2, 1, and done. And there's a pretty good split, about 50-50 who learned something new. I guess almost 100% said they learned something new. Only 3% said no, they know all this already. Yeah, if you're an advanced pro advisor, you probably do. But most of you learned something good, so I think that is awesome. Thank you so much for that. All right, so last comment here. Here's the QB training events. QBTrainingEvents.com. QB for QuickBooks. QBTrainingEvents.com will take you in here. Here you can see they have webinars every month. They have a virtual conference almost every month. In-person training. This is where you're going to come through here and look for your city and see when I click like on Miami, because Hector and I are doing Miami and Orlando together in June. Love to see you there. I always love presenting with him in person. It's awesome. So those will be updated out here again soon, so check on that. All right, so thank you guys very much for joining us today. We are out of time. Thank you, Kevin. He says, great to have you back. Happy to hear your surgical treatment is giving you relief. It is now, Kenny. The last 3 weeks, it wasn't working very good, and it was awful, but they reprogrammed me to make me better than ever. I feel like the $6 million man or the bionic woman. I have to go in for reprogramming if it's not working. It's really pretty crazy, and I really have to recharge myself at the end of the day. So thank you guys for joining me. So thank you very much for joining me for this. I really appreciate it. Brianna, thank you for your help. And to the rest of you, thank you. So Kat says, new business name, Bionic Bookkeeper. I love it. That's great. That's fun. All right. Thank you guys very much for joining me. Please complete the app survey. Please, please, please. I'm begging you for that. And otherwise, I will see you guys on April 19th. Thanks for joining me. Good luck with the rest of tax season. Bye, everybody.